One of the joys about parenting a young child was Friday night movie nights, right? It was great. It was epic. Now, I hardly ever got to choose the movie, of course, but it was something I still looked forward to. Now, inevitably, the movie that would get picked would be some sort of Disney movie. And of course, whenever a really good movie came out, like we would end up watching it on numerous occasions. So that meant that we looked at certain scenes in those movies differently the fifth time than we did the first time, right? The first time we had no idea how something was going to turn out, and yet by the fifth time, like we were saying the words before the characters could even get them out of their mouth. If only life could work like that, right? As you're getting into a stressful situation, you'd be like, wait a minute, I've seen this 4 times before. I know how it ends. Well, although life doesn't exactly work like this, there are many ways that we see our friend Paul exhibiting a similar type of confidence, even amidst the fierce storm, as if he had been there before or as if he knew how the story was going to end. So, how is this possible? Well, we're going to read Acts 27, verses 20 through 25. When neither sun or stars appeared for many days and the storm continued raging, we finally gave up all hope of being saved. After they had gone a long time without food, Paul stood up before them and said, Men, you should have taken my advice not to sail from Crete. Then you would have spared yourselves this damage and loss. But now I urge you to keep up your courage, because not one of you will be lost, only the ship will be destroyed. Last night, an angel of the God to whom I belong and whom I serve stood beside me and said, Don't be afraid, Paul. You must stand trial before Caesar, and God has graciously given you the lives of all who sail with you. Now, remember, Paul, along with other prisoners, are being transported on a ship to Rome. Now, Paul warns them earlier that there's going to be severe danger due to a storm, but they don't listen. So the people on the ship had given up any hope of being saved. So why was Paul so hopeful when everyone else is so hopeless? Now, I know we're at the end of the book of Acts, almost, but let's go back to the beginning of the book of Acts. The key verse in the entire book, Acts 1:8, Jesus says, You're going to be my witnesses in Jerusalem, Judea, and Samaria, and to the ends of the earth. Now, think about where we are. Like, we are headed to Rome with the gospel, like the very hub of all things. So, yes, there are shipwrecks. Yes, there are storms. Yes, there is persecution. And yet, in all this chaos, Jesus' words are being fulfilled. Now, in addition to that certainty, Paul is certain he is not going to perish in the storm because God already told him that he would be testifying in Rome. So what it came down to is that Paul resolutely trusted God's promises regardless of how things looked like on the outside. Right? He was like someone who was watching a Disney movie for the fifth time. Even though he didn't have all the details about how things were going to end, he knew that the end had to entail him getting the gospel to Rome. So he had peace because he knew that God was sovereign even in shipwreck. So what part of your life currently feels like a shipwreck? I want to encourage you that even if, like Paul, you don't have all of the details, to focus on and be encouraged by what you do know to be true about God's promises for you.